Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 10-Minute Topic with Pureline Tutoring. Today, what we're going to do, we're going to switch it up a little bit and we are going to do a past paper question. So we're going to look at the Biology May-June Paper 2, 2012, question 4, Part A to Part C. This topic is based on, or this question actually, sorry, is based on genetics. So this is a question here, essay type question, which you find to the back, the ones that carry a lot of marks, and according to what the question is, it requires a lot of information as well. But let's break this one down and get the answers for part A, B, and C. So the first thing we have to do is distinguish between the following pairs of terms: allele, gene, phenotype, genotype, dominant, and recessive. Now, sometimes, especially with me, how I connect terms, I may connect this in the opposite way. So I may be able to tell you what a genotype is properly and then link that to what the phenotype is. Or however it works in your brain, the way that you learn something. So when questions come like this, you do not have to put this first and this second. You can put it in whatever order you want, as long as you are distinguishing between the two terms. And the next thing, these answers are basically model answers. Your answer does not have to be or have to have this exact wording, but you want to make sure that you have specific key points in your definitions when you're giving your answers, because that is what carries the mark. So it's 6 marks. We're getting 1 mark for each definition. Very simple. So the first thing, genes are segments of DNA that carry genetic information passed from parents to offspring, while the alleles are different versions of the same gene. So we have the gene for hair color, but we have many alleles for hair color. We have alleles that will give you black hair, blonde hair, all the shades in between. We have brown hair, etc. Number 2, the genotype is a set of genes within the cell of an organism, while the phenotype is the visible characteristics of the organism. So how I like to explain what genotype and phenotype is, think about the coding that is done behind the scenes for you to get that really pretty website where you probably go and shop and get all this stuff on Shein and all these different things. But the genotype is the coding done in the background. We cannot see this, but it is there. And whatever your genotype codes for, that is what your phenotype is going to express. So all of your characteristics that do not have or were not influenced by the environment, this is what everything that your genotype says that you have to have or you have to show. The third thing, dominant means that this characteristic will be expressed, while recessive means that the characteristic will be masked in the presence of the dominant character, or the characteristic, sorry. So we know that once the dominant trait is there, once we're going with Mendelian laws, once the dominant trait is there, the recessive trait is going to be masked. The only way we will see the recessive trait is in the absence of the dominant trait. So that's 6 marks right there. Very easy. The next one, we have the little quote-unquote genetic maths to do here. And we're going to be using the Punnett square. Now, if you don't like using the Punnett square and you want to use the connecting lines, you can also do that. But the Punnett square, easy to use. Both of them easy to use, but it's just based on your preference. So we have black fur color is controlled by the dominant allele, which we give capital B. And brown fur color is a recessive allele, which is common B. Now, this characteristic is not sex-linked. This is very important. When they say that it is not sex-linked, then that means that it has nothing to do with X and Y chromosomes. So X and Y for male, X and X for female. It has nothing to do with this. It is not sex-linked. So give the genotypes of the parents and offspring of a cross between a black male and a brown female that produces half black offspring and half brown offspring. And we want to show all the working to this problem. Now, the reason why they said to show all the working to the problem is because once you fully understand this part of genetics, as soon as you see black male, brown female, half and half, you already know what the answer is. You already know what the genotype is. But we want to see what it is. We want to see what you were thinking and how you came to this conclusion to give you your marks. So look at this. We already have the understanding that the only way that the recessive trait could be shown is if the dominant trait is absent. So brown female, we know that one time. Common B, common B. It's with the male that we're not too sure. But if it is black, then that means it could be one of two things. So it can be homozygous dominant, or it can be heterozygous, big B and small b. Because once the capital B is present, which is dominant allele, you are going to get black. So if we get in half and half, if we use number 1, then that means all of the offspring, they are going to inherit one capital B, which is a dominant allele. If all of them have a dominant allele, then that means all of them are going to give black offspring. That wasn't the case. It was half and half. So how we're going to get half and half? If we have a homozygous recessive and a heterozygous black, then this is how we are going to get the half and half. And this is the working we show for it. So we have the female to the top, common B, male to the side, capital B, common B. It doesn't matter which you put where, it's just whatever you want, wherever you want to put it. So we have the first one, big B times small b, we have this here. Then we have big B times small b, this is our second one. Now we go to the second line, we have small b by small b, and then we have this next one, small b by small b, which will give us number 4. So number 1 and 2, they have the dominant allele. So we know that even though they are heterozygous, they are still going to give black offspring. But just like the mother, these two at the bottom here, number 3 and 4, they only have the recessive gene, allele. So that means that they are going to be brown. So this is how we get the answer. And if you want to use the connecting lines, this is how you'll do it here. So you just want to show this is where your parents are, this is the offspring that you get. And then a next step that I like to do is to put your genetic your genetic ratio and your phenotypic ratio. So with your genetic ratio, we have a 1-to-1 because we have 1 part black, 1 part brown, and we'll have the same thing in terms of the phenotypic ratio. We'll have 1 part black, 1 part brown there. And the last part is we have hemophilia is caused by an X-linked recessive gene. So if it is X-linked, then now we know we are using X and Y chromosomes here to figure out the answer. So it's caused by an X-linked recessive gene. So that means this recessive gene is only carried on the X chromosomes, not the Y chromosome. So 2 parents with the normal phenotype have a hemophiliac child. Use a diagram, use a genetic diagram to show how this is possible. And they give you it here. Hemophilia, we use the H as the letter there. Capital H represents normal, so the dominant is normal. The recessive allele is hemophilia, is a gene for hemophilia. So same thing as we did before we set up our Punnett square. We have the male and the female, or the mother and the father. But what we have to figure out is if the 2 of them are normal, if they have a normal phenotype, where does hemophiliac child came from? So because we know it's X-linked, if the male is normal, then we know for a fact that this male has the capital H. nothing is carried on the Y. But if they had a hemophiliac child, the mother is normal. But where does hemophiliac child came from? Then that tells us that the mother is not homozygous, but in fact heterozygous. So she has one dominant allele and she has one recessive allele, meaning that she is a carrier. She is normal because of the presence of the dominant trait, but she is a carrier because she has the chance of passing on that gene for hemophilia to any of her offspring based on the crosses that we will work out here. So the first one we'll do, we'll look at this one here. So we have X capital H or by X capital H. We have this one here. This is a perfectly normal child. We have X capital H by X common H. So number 2, this child or this chance here is just like the mother. It is a carrier. Y now. Y by X capital H. This is a normal boy, just like the father. And look at this one. This last one, we have X common H by Y, which is that child who has hemophilia. So the same thing, again, could be expressed in the connecting lines diagram. And the step further that I like to take, your genetic ratio and your phenotypic ratio. So this shows me that you really understand the topic. So we have a 2 to 1 to 1 ratio. 2 meaning that we have 2 possibilities for your offspring to have just this dominant trait, which is number 1 and number 3. 1 meaning we have one carrier here, so one heterozygous offspring or chance, and then the other one, which is this child here, or the chance of having that child with the actual gene for hemophilia. In terms of our phenotypic ratio, meaning what we will see, we have a 3 to 1 ratio. This 3 to 1, meaning that we have 3 chances that child is going to have non-hemophilia expressions. So this child is not going to have or display anything with hemophilia, even though one is going to be a carrier, and that one being this child here, which is number 4, who has hemophilia. So that's the end of the question. That's our 15 marks right there. And if you made it to the end, leave a leaf a leaf in the comment section below. But thank you so much for sticking through straight to the end. If this was one of the questions that you have as an assignment, then lucky you. But I hope you understand how very simple these genetic diagrams and everything are very, very easy to do. You just have to look for some key terms and you'll be able to figure it out. Just take your time. So thanks, and I'll see you in the next episode.